Appendix carry is dangerous. That's right, I'm saying it right here on the same YouTube channel where you have seen me carry an appendix and draw a live pistol and put rounds downrange over and over again. But I'm here to tell you, appendix carry inside the waistband is dangerous. Inside the waistband carrying at the hip is dangerous. Climbing a tree is dangerous. Riding on an airplane, water skiing, snow skiing, riding in a car is dangerous. As a matter of fact, riding in a car is the most dangerous thing we as civilians are going to do on a consistent basis our entire lives. The important thing is to understand that the person in charge of those activities, whether it's skiing, climbing a tree, carrying a gun, driving a car, has been properly trained, understands each piece of equipment or machine, knows how to operate it properly and safely. Finger in the trigger guard of a gun, muzzle pointing at something you don't want to destroy. Two really, really important rules of carrying a gun. Thank you for watching, everybody. We're going to talk appendix and hip carry today. I choose to carry appendix for several reasons. I'm going to go over those first. Number one, concealability. For me, I'm not the smallest person. I'm definitely not the largest, but I have broad shoulders. I have wide hips. I'm 6'3", about 232, 235. It's easy for me to carry a gun and appendix. Easier than it is on the hip. It just conceals better. First and foremost, that's why I like to carry one at appendix. It's comfortable for me. Number two, retention. Nobody has taken this gun from me unless I'm dead or unconscious when it's right here. We fight in the front of our body, so I've got a really good chance of even putting a hand on that gun, hold somebody at bay until I can pull the gun and go to work if I needed to. If I get knocked on my back in a fight or trip, I can still pull that gun and do what I need to do. It's going to be a lot tougher from the hip. Now, I do carry on the hip on occasion. As a matter of fact, sometimes I carry my full-size VP9 on the hip and my subcompact at appendix. It's rare, but there are situations where I have done it. Before we go any further, if you carry on the hip, I'm not here to judge or say, it's terrible, it's bad. I will just give you a few reasons why I carry an appendix, as well as a couple of facts, and we're going to go over the draw strokes and show you a couple of the dangers of the draw strokes, okay? The blanket statement that appendix carry is dangerous because I don't want a gun pointing at my junk or my femoral artery. Those kind of statements are what we as gun carriers have to stop spewing. The internet is full of stupidity like that. Dumb statements that people really don't research themselves. Trainer X says that carrying in position A is terrible, so carry in position B. Trainer Y says it's okay to carry in position A. Guys, it's your responsibility to grow up, be an adult, find out what works best for you, whether it's the type of gun you carry, the type of ammo you carry, and where you carry. And then beyond that, you have to train. You have to practice, become proficient. Training mitigates risk, all right? You hand a new person a gun and tell them to put it at appendix without even thinking about it, a loaded gun. God only knows where they're going to point that gun and what they're going to do with it. But the longer they train, they get used to it, they understand, or on the hip, and they understand how the gun functions and the dangers, they mitigate risk through that training, all right? So the blanket statement, gun pointed at my junk or my femoral artery, it's going to kill me, I'm going to bleed out in 2 minutes, and whenever I get to spend time with my kids or grandkids, it's just a bunch of bull. A gun, it's unloaded, no magazine. A gun is an inanimate object. It has no brain, it has no ability to think, act, or reason. That's your job and that's my job, all right? We think and we act and we reason through situations, and if we ever had to pull that gun, this right here is what is more dangerous than the gun itself. If you keep this out of the trigger guard and the muzzle pointed in a safe direction until you're ready to destroy something, this gun cannot voluntarily hurt anyone. It amazes me how people think, oh my God, that position's so dangerous. Hey, that's fine. It's ridiculous, guys. And we're going to show you the draw strokes in just a minute. And I'm going to talk about why I personally believe the appendix carry draw is potentially safer. Now, I didn't just blanket say it is safer. Potentially, if you want to put the time into your draw stroke and you want to understand rep after rep after rep, you have to make sure you're doing it right, all right? The most dangerous thing, we know this as gun carriers, is putting the gun back in the holster anyway. So whether it's an appendix or it's on the hip, we can take precautions to make sure that we do it safely, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw from appendix. I'm just going to get my shirt out of the way. No, I don't open carry an appendix, but I'm going to show you guys, get the shirt out of the way so I can show you guys what I'm talking about here, okay? All right, so here we are. Target's right here. I'm in the surrender position, let's say. I clear the cover garment, I go to gun, and I come to this position. Now I'm going to turn 90 degrees, and I want you guys to see where the gun is pointing. It's a good 2 feet in front of my feet and legs, all right? From this position, after the draw, you marry it up, press it out, press the trigger. Now, if you happen to get into the trigger guard a little early from here, pull the garment here, I'm still not shooting myself, okay? Obviously, there are other people out there we have to be concerned with, but it's a fallacy to believe that when you draw that gun, you're going to shoot your femoral artery or shoot your junk off, okay? It's ridiculous. Now, when we reholster, it's really important from appendix to make sure, obviously finger out of the trigger guard. I like to put the thumb on the back of the slide and make sure it can't move, it can't cycle, especially if it's hammer fired. Go ahead and pull your belly even back in. Make sure there's nothing in the holster. Pull your gut back in, and some people even take a step back with one leg so that they can really see. And that right there, when I put that back in the holster, if it were to go off, it's going to hit the ground about a foot in front of my legs. Appendix carry is no more dangerous than any other style of carry. It's not. You have to practice and you have to train. Okay? Now, let's move over to the hip. And first and foremost, I'm going to talk about a picture that I saw and a video. First, let's talk about the video. There was a big YouTube channel that just did a video recently destroying appendix carry. How awful it is, how bad it is, how dangerous it is, and stupid, irresponsible. The funny thing is, this particular guy with his channel demonstrated his draw stroke from the hip, clearly flagged his hip. I called him out on the video on it. A couple people agreed with me. Of course, some of his sheep jumped on me and said, no, that's not true. And it was true. He flagged himself. And I'm going to show you just a little bit. It's difficult to not flag yourself from the hip. I just saw a picture of a huge Special Forces guy. You would know his name if I said it, but I'm not going to say it. He was drawing from the hip. It was a still picture in a class. The gun is right here. Not only is he flagging his hip, his finger was in that trigger guard. Now, he has thousands of hours more time behind a gun than most of us, definitely me. So I'm not questioning his finger in that trigger guard when it was. You have to practice and train so that when that finger goes into trigger guard, you know it's time. Maybe he felt comfortable enough with that trigger finger control that it was okay. Again, I'm not questioning the guy. What I'm going to say is, though, training mitigates risk, okay? And some of these top-level guys that say never put your finger in the trigger guard until your gun's parallel with the ground is bull. Top-level competition shooters don't do it. And, you know, police officers, military guys, when their life depends on that split second, their fingers go in a little sooner. Now, I'm not telling you to do it. What I'm saying is you have to train. Make sure that you're capable of handling the muzzle of that gun and the trigger finger to keep yourself and other people safe. All right? So let's talk about the design of the hips. You have a gun inside the waistband at the hip. We like the grip pulled nice and tight against the body, which pushes the muzzle outward. So if you think about a straight line or a little bit of a V from the human body, basically you're angled this way, the upper body, and the gun is this way. So the only way to really pull the gun straight out of the holster and not flag ourselves is to come over here. Now we know that's ridiculous and that would never happen. Instead, this is a very typical draw stroke from the hip. All right, from here, clear the garment, here, bang. I'm absolutely flagging my hip. And if you think you can't reach with a bullet, your femoral artery from the side, check your anatomy because you absolutely can. Not to mention destroy the hip, other blood vessels, and nerves that are in that pelvic girdle, the center of the body, all right? So that's a very typical hip draw stroke. And the reason is, when you're trying to draw the gun straight up, remember the holster is cocked. So you're going to get a little bit of a flicking motion where it's going to want to have to flick out to make sure that you're not pointing at anything. And honestly, my foot is still somewhat in danger there. So, what am I saying? Brian, are you saying hip carry is dangerous? Yes, just like appendix carry. And I'm saying that we have to figure out which method works for us. If we're going to draw from the hip, we have to make sure that finger stays out of the trigger guard until we're clear, and then we can go to work, all right? Just like it would be at appendix. It's no different whatsoever. Just because the gun is sitting right here, pointing at my femoral artery, doesn't mean it's going to shoot that femoral artery. As long as I go to the gun and I draw clear, and I make sure that muzzle is clear, I can get my finger in the trigger and present, all right? Training mitigates risk. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video today. I've been stewing over this. I took notes. I'm not working off any notes right now. I'm passionate about getting good information out there. Guys, this is good info. There's opinion on my part and there's facts, okay? And the last thing I'm going to say is, if you are physically unable to carry appendix, that's fine. I get it. I understand completely. But please do not bash it because you don't like it personally. We have to figure out what works best for us. And then we have to train, and train some more. Guys, I always appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Comments down below. I'd love to hear your feedback on appendix and hip carry. Thanks for watching.